This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. Please pardon my voice as I have a cold this week, but that's not going to stop us from getting lots of stuff done on the boat. But I'm going to let Phil do most of the talking.
As usual. So this week's going to be all about constructing the port side stairway from the hulls up into the salon. And looking forward to that since Brian and I have to keep climbing down the slope. So we want to get those stairways done. So we're going to start working on that this week. But we ran into a design issue, and we're going to talk about that after we show you some construction stuff. And also we're going to take a few viewer questions. So before we get to that though, let's do some boat construction. We have gifts. This is a battery, a lithium battery that has been sent to us to review, and they were kind enough to give us one. This is going to come in handy for our boat because right now we have 6 batteries, but they're 24 volts each. We have to put them in pairs to get them 48 volts. So that gives us 3 at 230 amps, which is 690 amps total. And that's the most they can put out since they're a 1C battery. And our electric motors need about 900 amps, but we only have 690, excuse me. So we're a couple of hundred short. Well, this 48 volt battery here that they sent us will put out 200 amps. So that gives us 890. That's right about where we need to be for our electric motors. And it's a 48 volt battery, so we don't have to add 2 to the boat anymore, which we would if we did our other style batteries, and that would add 200 pounds. This is going to add only 100 pounds and get us up to where we need to be. So it's working out well for us, and so for that I agreed to take a look at it. So this is it. We just got it. Congratulations, an extra 2-year warranty. Oh, that'll be handy. You can see that this is a 51.2 105 amp, but it's capable of putting out 200 amps. That's your company that makes these batteries. It's about 100 pounds. So what do we got in here? Smart charger. If we wanted to plug it in, but we'll probably won't be doing that unless we're at shore power.
LCD screen.
Oh. All right. So it comes with a LCD. We can mount that somewhere. Well, that's pretty compact. That's good because I don't have a lot of space for it. So that's going to work out well. I'm curious what's on the inside. So let's open it up and take a quick look here. The secondary use for this, besides adding another 200 amps that we can use for our electric motors when needed, is this is small enough that we could put it into the tender with our electric motor as a backup battery to our the ones that come from ZeroJet, because I reported this incorrectly when I was talking about the ZeroJet earlier in another video, is that the ZeroJet will run off of their proprietary batteries or another 48 volt battery if you want. Now we want to use their batteries most of the time, but it'd be nice to have a backup battery so that we can in emergencies, if we need another battery in the tender, this little one would fit right in there, and it's not very big to go into the tender, so that'll work out.
Beautiful.
That's a very nice layout they have on this. Nice job on that. And it does have a seal around the lid here, so That is nice. BMS is right down in here. And looks like over on this side is our hookup. It has Bluetooth, so we'll be looking at the app soon. A vent if it has an issue so that it can vent. And then these are your terminals hooking up for our into our power system. So that's very similar to a lot of what we have in our batteries, with the, like I say, with the vent, with the terminals out front, and with an LCD screen. Now, in ours, it's mounted to the battery, but we can mount this outside the battery as well, in this particular case, to monitor this. And I imagine that's what one of these cables is for right here. So this cable's going to hook to this LCD screen to give us a readout. So that looks pretty nice. I'm pleased so far. We'll test it all out and see how it goes. And looks like they've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, they got 16 cells to get to 48 volts, which is typical for that. So, and these are LiFePO 4 cells, which is, again, something I require for safety on our boat. And so that's another reason I was accepting of putting this on the boat. So I think it looks really good. It's a very nice case, very strong. So all in all, looking forward to giving it a test. So we talked about the platform that they had in the design coming down from the stairway, and how we can't do that because of a problem with the size of the door. And if you'll see, when I step up to this level of platform, this is where my head would be trying to walk through the door. So we can't have this level that they put in the design, but if I'm down at this level, I can walk through the door. So this is why we had to get rid of the platform down below here. So we're going to work on that today and start putting this in. The first thing that Brian and I are doing right now is we're going to pull the peel ply, not on this, only this, but all the pieces that go with this area up in the forward starboard side of the hull. And we'll start gluing those things in today. Working over here in the starboard forward shelving area. This is right behind the forward table, and we're having to do a little custom cutting right in here, and we already cut the bottom of the door so that it would go down flush in there. That way, let me go down here without falling. And speaking of not falling, once this is in, we can start working on the stairs, so we can start using stairways. But this is where we cut the floor out of this doorway, so that, as you can see, I can now walk through here, which is good. I would have hated to bang my head every single darn time I came down the stairs and entered the forward cabin. So that works out better. We haven't finished out how we're going to finish off these parts down here yet. We'll figure that out, and we still have to do some sealing of the pipes going through on these, but we're going to get this one mounted in here pretty soon, and that way we can get the stairs going and get up and down this hallway easily. And then we want to fit out all of the parts that go in the cupboards over here and get this floor in as well. And obviously before we can do that, we have to finish the conduit off that go inside of here. So we'll be making a trip to the hardware store soon to buy some more conduit pieces, and get that finished off, start gluing this all up today, and somewhere later in this week we'll get the sole portion in there, and hopefully the sole portion in over here as well. So now that one's waiting on not conduit, but that we have to run the hot and cold water over to the washing machine that fits, to the washing machine that fits in here. So one thing kind of affects another, and so we're going to make sure we do these in the right order. This is the sole piece. We're trying to dry fit in here and see if this is all working. Oops, get that. Okay. Let's sand this door piece that goes in. Now we don't really need to sand it right now because all we're doing is tacking down the bottom, but it's easier to sand it now than after it's tacked in later. So we'll just sand it now so that we're ready to tab on it. This morning, Brian and I are working on the stairway down into the port hull. So the first thing we got to do here, though, is these little supports that come out aren't perfectly vertical, and they need to be matched up with this bottom right here. So we put marks along the sides here. We're going to cut those off right now. Then we can put the first top piece on here, which would be the top step in essence. Let me tilt that up again. We can put the first piece that goes right here, adds onto this, and gets our top step area. And then we'll work on putting a riser between here and here. That'll give us this first one with the jigsaw. All right, because this is not going to fly. All right, so next we're going to have to get our riser in here. This is not the actual piece we're going to use. That's just an example because it's obviously not tall enough. Yep, 224 is how tall this piece has to be. It has to be this wide, but 224 tall.
This morning we poured out all of the steps that go on both the starboard and port hull to get down from the salon into the corridor down there. And now we're going to fill all of these at one big shot here so that we can round these edges later. And this also gives it that hard edge on the edge of the stairs rather than just foam, and a little bit of fiberglass. So we'll be stepping on these a lot.
We're ready to glue our stairs in here. We completely reconfigured these stairs the way we want them because originally they were very large, and then this step was way out here, so you couldn't walk up at a normal pace. So we wanted to make them a fairly regular stairway coming up from here. And we did run into some issues with that. To do that, we have to come in pretty tight to the chamfer panel here. And that meant that we were running into the escape hatch that was here. And that was a problem. So after many, many measurements and many, many thoughts and things, we finally said, well, if the escape hatch is the issue, and if we didn't have the escape hatch here, we could make the stairs the way we want. The answer was, get rid of the escape hatch. But we still want an escape hatch, so all we did is move over. We're going to put the escape hatch here. Now, if I go back over here, when we would talk to Schoening originally, they wanted us to put it very high up here. It gets it higher off the water down here. And of course, if the boat was ever flipped over, this is actually, if it's higher here, it's easier to reach once the boat's flipped over. So it's better up high. Then the problem was this wing here, which is the mast support, goes all the way down here. And after we talked to Schoening about that, they realized that we would have to cut this if we were going to put the escape hatch high. So then they said, well, move the escape hatch down lower, even though that's not as optimal a position, because we don't want you to cut into this reinforcement any. So that's sort of where we were until we ran into the stairway thing where we want to reconfigure these stairs. The nice part is, if we move it over here, that reinforcement that we were talking about ends right there. So we can put the escape hatch back up high where we want it, so that it's easier to reach if it's ever needed, when if the boat was ever flipped over. And it's higher off the water line. So if it was leaking for some reason, it's way off the water compared to, lower down. And over here, to get to this escape hatch, we were going to have to make several removable stairs to get out of the way to get the escape hatch. Over here, all we have is one shelf that sits out, which we can make removable right there. And that's it, one shelf, and you've got to the escape hatch. Here, probably 3 steps you'd have to move. So it's easier to access, higher off the water line, less work for us because we don't have to make all those removable stairs, just one removable thing. Easier to reach if the boat ever flipped over. And I just want you to note that no Schoening Catamaran has ever flipped over. We would be the first. And so we're going to try not to be the first. But you put these in for a reason. If there was a disaster and the boat flipped over, you want to be able to get to it. And so that's going to make it a lot easier because you're going to be standing on the roof that is at this level right here. And that would make this very accessible. Now there's going to be another shelf up here that's not removable, but that's okay because if the boat was flipped over, that actually works as a step to help you get into the escape hatch. So everything about moving it over here is better for us. So it also allows us to do something different when the stairs, instead of floating stairs, we can actually have risers on this, and so they're going to be stronger and just glassed in so they'll never move. So we like all that a lot better, and so that's what we're doing. So right now we're about to start gluing in the stairs and risers that we've now created and get this stairway. The only step we're not going to put in is the final one down here, and that's because we've still got to lift this sole out of here to do work underneath of it, and this step, once it's in, will keep that sole from coming up. So for a while we're just going to put a temporary step down below, and later when the floor is done, the sole of the hallway and stuff here, we'll go ahead and mount the stair. We've prepped it and got it ready, but we're just not going to mount it yet. But we're going to do the first 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. There's 5 all total. So we're going to do the first 4 right now. Okay, let's get this stairway glued in.
Start with top riser.
Yep, we're going to start with this one. Okay, now we're going to put so there's our steps, and they're all in, and they're all about an even height all the way. So even depth in, even height. They're about 9.5 inches. We did leave a little bit of an overhang on purpose because we wanted to make sure that we had, you know, a minimum of the 9.5 inches, which is up here in centimeters. So there's one more stair to go, one more step that goes attached to the hull down here, but we can't attach that yet. So down there, and then there's a gap behind there, but that is a piece that goes in. It's part of the shelf top that goes over here and it extends around into that little slot back there. So that's coming soon. So the good news is as soon as we tab this stuff in, we'll be able to walk up and down these stairs now. We'll just put a temporary step down here. And we'll finally have steps up and down from the salon up here and down into all this work we're going to have to do down here. And it's going to be a lot nicer to be able to walk up and down rather than ski down these slopes over here like we've been doing, or climb in from the outside of the boat over here. So, but for today, I still have to climb out. Jeff's here working right now because that lazy rat-fink Brian took half a day off. How dare he? But fortunately, Jeff's here working. And what he's doing is sealing the edges of the removable shelf that we're putting in for the new position of the escape hatch. And then we also forgot to seal the edge of the top step, so he's taking care of that for me. While he's finishing this up, I'm going to go do some sanding so we can put in the walls for the new stairway is going to go in on the starboard side.
Jeff and I are kind of get these 2 walls in so we can get the stairway going on the starboard summit. So we're glue this in right now.
put these walls in here for the stairway, we temped in, just dry fitted the sole in like it's right now. And that's when we discovered a major problem here, is that if you can see right here, this sticks out. And so if I tried to walk down here, I'm going to run into it. And this is where the cupboards would come out to. And so the hallway here would only be maybe 14 inches wide, this up in centimeters. And that's just not going to do. I don't want to go, every time I go down the hallway, waddle my way down sideways. I'm going to walk down the hole. Now the other side of the hole, where the table is cut back to the edge of the hole down here, so you can walk up and down without any trouble. It's only this side that has this design issue. Now the reason they did it is because right over here is where the main cupboard area with the sinks is, and they wanted to leave enough room for those sinks out here. So they also wanted to have storage, so they extended this out to make the storage. But that's just not going to fly because I can't have this sticking out. So we're going to have to figure out how to trim this back. We're probably going to lose a little bit of storage, but we're going to have to do that. So I'm going to go to my computer and take a look at the plans, and I'll show you what we come up with and the solution that we're going to do to fix this. But we are going to fix it. And you can really see where it comes out right here where that angle is, because it should be cut off right at the entry into the bed area there, not come out at an angle and take away our hallway here. So anyway, I'll show you that in just a moment, and we'll take a look at what we can do. Here you can see the cupboards as designed, where you have that angle coming off of where the bed entry is there, and then it comes out and puts those cupboards, and those top 6 cupboards right here are just shallow because behind them is where the wall is that goes up to where the sink would be above there. So what we're going to have to do is push this whole face back, and that's going to get rid of these 6 little tiny shallow cupboards. It will keep the larger ones 3 below it, but they're going to get a little shallower. And then at the very bottom there, where you see the 4 openings there, that whole face right there is just not going to be used, because we're going to push this back to the hull, and there'll be an angled storage area that is below there, but it won't have those rectangular openings anymore because that piece won't be used. So it'll look like this when it is reconfigured. And like I say, we lose a little bit of storage, but on the other hand, we can walk down the hallways from here on out. So that's what's going to happen. And tomorrow we're going to start by cutting this sole piece back flush with the edge of the cabin opening there, and as you see in this particular render. As I promised, we're going to take some viewer questions, and the Admiral Nicole, I'm going to give her a break here. All she's going to have to do is read the questions. I'll do all the answering. So let's take the first one.
First one is, it looks like you're trying to slide a 1200 door into a 900 pocket. Wouldn't it be better to slide it behind the port side seat?
Right, so what they're talking about is right here is this slot we have, and that's where the door slides in up here when we open it up. And they're suggesting that we slide it instead behind the seats over here. The problem with that is that this huge window here is a big flip-up window that comes up into the ceiling up here when we want to open it. So this opens up, and we couldn't have this slider open and the window open at the same time if that was over here. So there's just no way to do that. So it has to go in over here. But it isn't the wrong size door for the slot. The slot is made for it, and the door ends when it's open, comes right to the edge of this straight piece right there. So it fits all in there just fine. So we'll be good for that. What's our next question?
Will you be putting a hinged cover over the rudder slots so the step is flat when the rudders are down? Now your step has large tripping slot in the middle of the scoops.
Yeah, right now it does. But let me go down to the sugar scoop and we'll show you how that actually works. So here we are at the sugar scoop where this hole is that the viewer and commenter is worried about us stepping into and falling through here. And the thing is we don't have the rudder box in here yet. This is one side of the rudder box. and then there's another one on this side. And then this is turned into a box, so it has a top section like this, and I haven't built this yet, that's why I'm having to piece it, and a side section and a bottom. And so this is a big box. And so it makes the top of this floor complete, and then when the rudder kicks up, the whole box rotates up. So there won't ever be a slot here. You'll never see it. This will be completely sealed other than a very thin little line on each side of it. And you can step on it just fine because it's braced against the back there, so it can't go down any further. So that's how that works, and no, there won't be anything we have to fall into. What's the next question?
Next question is, don't y'all have some open sides of the hull too?
Yeah, that would be right over here. Let's just go straight there. Talking about here is this whole side of the boat is open, and the fact is that the Schoening designers were very smart about this, and they designed this boat so that we do not have to seal this outside for a long time, because this gives us airflow in here when we're sanding and all these heads and bathrooms and cabins and all that stuff, and there's airflow out of here. And so we'll be working on the entire inside of the boat, getting it all faired, sanded, and all that good stuff long before we have put this final panel on that goes the full length all the way to the bow of the stern here of the boat. And we already got that panel prepared, but we won't be putting it on until we've finished pretty much the interior of the boat. Now, once we put it on, we'll still have to fair and sand the inside of this one wall, but that's all. And that the rest of it will be done with some nice light and airflow here.
And that answer goes with our next question of, are you also going to seal up the outer side of the hulls for the rain, or keep that till later to work easier in the hull? So he's basically answered that.
Right. So the only thing we're doing about the rain right here, as you can already see that, forward, just step forward, is we just have a tarp coming down so that the rain will not fall into the boat when it rains. Now, it's not raining right now, so we haven't done this, but when it's going to rain, we will have little lines that hold this out, and so the rain will sheet off of here without going into the boat. But that answers both of those questions. What's the next one?
Do you know the specific design reason why the outer upper edges of the two hulls are angled down rather than kept level, providing for a wider walkable area of the side deck?
Let's go take a look at that. So I'll sit on the step. Our viewer is referring to this angled piece right here. And so your deck piece goes up here that we walk on, and then there's this angled piece before you get to the hull here. And he's asking, why did they choose to do that? Well, there's a couple things. The first is that in flat panel construction like this, it's easier to have flat angled surfaces rather than some kind of a curve, where if we took this out and wanted to curve it. But you could still do a smaller straight piece out here. So that doesn't really answer that. So the second one is that this is actually structurally stronger. And if you think about a gate with a rectangle, you put a cross beam across there to strengthen that up. And rather than just have a 90 here, by putting this 45 here, it's a stronger structure for the boat. And it does give a place for the dagger board further up to exit out of here, outside of where the stanchions are going to be here. So our dagger board's not in the walkway, it's out in this 45. And however, it's a valid question, and the truth is that if I was going to redesign this boat again, I probably would have shrunk this down a bit. Maybe I still have it, but it wouldn't be quite as large, and I could buy another, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches of deck out before we do this. But it wouldn't be a 45 angle like this if I did that. So structurally, this might be stronger this way. That's all I can guess on that. But that's the answer to the best of my knowledge.
Our next question is, have you decided what you're going to do for the interior finish?
Right, obviously we're not going to leave it all splotchy and green. So what we're going to do is, obviously we're going to fair and sand this and paint it white. And so that the interior is mostly going to be, but that would be rather boring. So we are going to have some accent color to it. Now we've decided to go sort of simple on this. We kind of want black and white. So the main paint is going to be a white, and some of the other things are going to be black. For example, the kitchen counters will all be a black counter, and but there's going to be wood trim as well, like on edges of counters, cupboards, places like that. And for that, going with that dark and light theme, we're going to use black walnut, and to give it some warmth of a bit, because there'll be some wood grain in there showing and stuff on there, just to break up all the white, because you know, we don't want to be completely Moby Dick. So we'll get some like I say, black counters and some black walnut wood, and a lot of that will just be veneers that we take right over the surfaces that underneath are still this stuff, but we can use wood veneers for that. All right, we have a final question. What is that?
Do you have to add more layers of glass to the panels you're installing? Does this happen after all the outer skin is on?
Yes, we do have to add some laminate, but not very much. The only place that we still have to do serious lamination is right up here on top of the cabin top roof here. There's going to be lamination that goes not all the way to the edges, but past the two seams, just past them. And the reason for that is we walk up and down the boom a lot, and we just wanted more reinforcement up there. So we're going to be laminating the top with more basalt cloth that we have still, and laminating the top of that. But most of these surfaces don't need more lamination. They're already fiberglass on both sides, and it's enough once we put the fairing and stuff on there. So there's very little lamination left to go, mostly just the cabin top. The rest of the hulls is just faired onto the fiberglass that we currently have. Well, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much, and we always appreciate you watching and spending time with us. And also thank you to all of our patrons who support our project. We wouldn't finish this without them.
As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
And next week we will get to the starboard side, try to get those stairs down over there so that we can quit walking up that darn slope of the chamfer panel. So I'm looking forward to having both stairs working next week. See you then.
Bye.